Powe Tracker is a mass marketing / mailing tool that allows you to add names to your data and then track those names through a mailing process. It puts all of your name records on one of 6 tracks. And because your names are divided into tracks, you can also use those tracks for other mailing purposes as well. Let's look at the Powe Tracker screen. We'll go to the Donors tab and then Powe Tracker. And let's first jump down to the bottom of the screen to look at the 6 tracks. They are unassigned, introductory, solicitation, contributor, inactive, and lapsed contributor. So here's how Powe Tracker works. You get a list of names who have never donated to your organization. You enter 100 of those names into Denari, and I'm using the number 100 here as an arbitrary example. You can work with however many names you'd like. Now you come to the Powe Tracker window and you decide how long you want those names to be on the intro track, and you set that number in months in the first field. Let's enter 2 here as an example. At the end of that time, our names will move to the solicitation track. Let's decide how long they should remain on that track. We'll enter a 2 here as well. Now, let's run Powe Tracker by clicking the Run Powe Tracker button at the top of the page. And by the way, the page does not update immediately. You have to first allow Denari to run the process. Then you'll need to refresh the page to see the results. Denari will use the introduction date on the name record to determine which name belongs on these tracks. While they are on the introduction track, you may decide to mail them introduction type information. At the end of the first 2 months, we can enter another 100 names, and we'll come here to run Powe Tracker again. Anyone who's been on the intro track for 2 months will now jump to the solicitation track, and we can now mail different types of mailings to those folks, possibly asking them to make a donation. The idea here is that they've now gotten to know us and are more likely to make a donation. We can also send our initial mailings to the 100 names that are now on the intro track. If someone makes a donation at any time, they move to the contributor track. So in this way, you can keep a continuous flow of prospects through your data. We can also set the number of months that someone can be on the contributor track. Let's make it 24. This just means that once someone is on the contributor track, if they haven't made a donation in the last 24 months, they move to the lapsed contributor track. The inactive track is anyone who has never given a gift. The unassigned track is for anyone we have manually put on that track, and we'll look at how you can do that in a few minutes. You might use this track for staff members, family members, etc. As we've seen, the process of running Powe Tracker is not automated, and the reason for that is that you can control the mailing cycle. You can do your intro mailings, run Powe Tracker, do your solicitation mailings, run Powe Tracker, etc. on your schedule. There are 2 checkboxes here. Also, make retroactive. This is used when you change some of your settings. Let's say, for example, you change your intro settings from 2 to 3. When you check this box and run Powe Tracker, Denari will go back and get anyone who has already moved to the solicitation track and put them back on the intro track if they fit the criteria. The Move Unassigned to Intro checkbox is used when you haven't used Powe Tracker for a while or ever. When you run that, Denari puts those names on the intro track so that they can begin the mailing process with them. The original purpose for Powe Tracker as it was designed was as a mass marketing tool, as mentioned earlier. But since your names are all on one of 6 tracks, you can also use it for other purposes. For example, if you want to do a mailing to your lapsed contributor, you can do that easily using Name Segmenter. Or you may want to do a mailing to everyone except contributors, and you can do that easily as well. Let's look at Name Segmenter briefly to see how we can use Powe Tracker. We'll go to the Donors tab and Name Segmenter. And we're just going to pick a segment here at random. We'll move down to the Powe Tracker section and expand that. And here we see that all 6 tracks are checked. That's because by default everyone is on a track, even if you're not using Powe Tracker. And with Name Segmenter by default, you start with everyone included. If you wanted all of your names, for example, you could create a name segment and use no filters. Just go to the Output tab and run it to get everyone. So to get a list of just those names on the intro track, we need to uncheck all of the boxes except for that track. Now when we run the segment, we will get just those name records. And we could, if needed, use other filters in the segment to further narrow the list. For example, if we used a classification, that would give us everyone who has that classification and who is on the intro track. If we wanted to do a mailing to everyone except those on the intro track, we could uncheck only that box. So all the other boxes would be checked. When using Powe Tracker with Name Segmenter, remember to run Powe Tracker first to bring it up to date and put everyone on the correct track. Finally, let's go look at the Powe Tracker fields in the name record. For that, we'll go to the Donors tab, Name List Management, and we'll just pick a name here at random. And I'll scroll down for you. And here we see three tracks that are related, or three fields that are related to Powe Tracker. Powe Tracker on, the track field, and the date the track was last updated. The track tells us what track that name record is currently on. The Powe Tracker on checkbox lets us add or remove the name record from the process. If the checkbox is checked, this name record will be included in the process when you run Powe Tracker, and their track will change as they meet the criteria that you've set up. If you uncheck the box and hit Save, and I'll do that for you here, the track field turns into an editable field. You can now manually put that person on any track you'd like. For example, you might have someone who has never made a dollar donation but may have donated their time. You may want to consider them a contributor in your mailings. You can manually put them on that track, and Denari will not override your choice. This concludes this session on Powe Tracker. If you have any questions, please contact our tech support office through the support button at the top of Denari.